We're on Daf Yomi and Beis, the bottom of the line. The last thing the Gemara had said was it described the parshias of the tefillin. So we said last time that there was Rashi and Rabbi Natam, and the major difference in Rashi and Rabbi Natam is that the last two of Rashi are inverted according to Rabbi Natam, that the Bahayas are in the middle. I also mentioned that there was a Shitas Aravid and the Shimusha Rabbah. Shimusha Rabbah, it's unclear exactly what it is. Pashas, because Shimusha Rabbah had a lot of Shitas. A lot of Shitas comes to tefillin. So Shimusha Rabbah, the main difference in Shimusha Rabbah is that it's Rashi just mirrored. It's Rashi, but instead of Kaddish to Shema, it's Shema to Kaddish. But it's the same thing. It's just mirror image. Just Agav. That's one of the ways that they knew the Lubavitch Rebbe would be the next Rebbe, because he had an older brother-in-law, Shmuel Gerari. And the Frierdiker Rebbe, when he died, he never said who's going to be Rebbe, but they sort of figured it out. One of the ways was the Minhag of Chabad is everyone wears Rashi ben Atam. It's also Rashi ben Atam. Rebbes used to wear Shimush Rabbah also. Shimush Rabbah also privately. They wear Shimush Rabbah. The Frierdiker Rebbe told Lubavitch Rebbe when he got engaged, he said, "You're going to start wearing Shimush Rabbah." He never said that to the other brother-in-law. So that was one of the illusions. Anyway, Amr Chanan Amar Rav Hichlif Parshiaseh Psulis. If you flip the Parshias, it's puzzle. Meaning, Pashtus, Rashi would be puzzle for Rabbi Natam, and Rabbi Natam would be puzzle for Rashi. If you flip the Parshias, it's a problem. If you go out of order, it's an issue. Al Pi Kabbalah, you should just know that Rashi and Natam are not really disagreeing. They're two parts of one component. You have to wear both to Mekayim the Mitzvah Shleim, as the Zohar says. I can find that. Rizal said, I can find. Anyway, that's why some Mekubalim wear it at the same time. Amar Abaya, Loi Omrun Ela Gavi. Okay, so Abaya sheet is like this. Abaya holds that if you switch the Parshias, it's not always puzzle. Think of the Parshias as 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 1 and 4 are the outer ones, 2 and 3 are the inner ones. According to Abaya, it's only puzzle if you switch an outer with an inner, and an inner with an outer. But if I, let's say, swap 1 and 4, so I take Kaddish and Shema and just invert it, or I take Kaddish and Vahaya and invert it. But if I take the outer ones and swap them 1 and 4, or 2 and 3 and swap them, it's fine. So it's only a problem if you take an outer and put it into inner, and put inner to an outer. So according to Abaya, the halacha mashmasin on the order was not as essential. It was only that the outer ones have to say outer, and the inner ones have to say inner. Within that, it doesn't really, it's kosher anyway. Abaya says, Loi Amrun, huh? No, Shemushi Rabbah would be puzzle. It was Shemushi Rabbah would not be puzzle. That's a good point. Yeah, according to Abaya, Shemushi Rabbah would be kosher for Rashi. So, it's just the invert. It's just instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, it's 4, 3, 2, 1. Just flipped. It's the same 4 parashas, just right to left. It's left to right. Says the Gemara. If you switch an outer for an inner for an inner, or an outer for an outer, it's less than, but it's fine. That's a Bayashita. Rava disagrees. Rava says, I don't understand. If the order matters, it matters. And Rava even says like this. Amalei Rava, why is it that if you switch an outer for an inner, it's a problem? You'll say, why? The reason is because when you take an outer and you switch it for an inner, that outer is supposed to be at the end, and now it's not in its proper place. Now it's in the inside. And what was supposed to be in the inside does not see the outside is now on the outside. Meaning, the reason why it's a problem is because you're saying that if it's supposed to be on the outside, it's supposed to be sort of exposed to the outside, and now it's on the inside. And the inside is supposed to be completely enclosed, and now it's exposed. So he says, Briosel Vasenami. Hadaboy Lemechse Avir Diamin, Kachazira Avir di Small. Ude Small Kachazai Avir Diamina. Rabbi says, so it's the same problem. If I switch an outer, it's the same problem. Why? You say, oh, they're both outer. Yeah, but this is supposed to be on the outer on the right side, and that's supposed to be out on the left side. Meaning, Rabbi says, if you're makbid that it has to be where it's supposed to be, then you should be makbid on any change. And therefore, Rabbi feels any change is a problem. Not just inner for outer, outer for inner. Any change is a problem. Says the Gemara Vaytev, Am Rav Chanan Merav, Titura the Tefillin. Okay, the Titura, tefillin have three. There's 3 parts of the tefillin. There's the ketzitza, which is actual box where the 4 parashas are in. There's the titura, which is the base, and then there's the mavarta, which is the back of it, where the ritzua goes through. So we've already talked about the ketzitza, which is the 4 boxes. There's that piece, and then there's the titura. The titura is the base. It's unclear. According to Rashi, the base was actually made up of the same material as the ketzitza. So basically, you would just have the ketzitza, which is the 4 glove thing. You close it, and then you would just fold the bottom, and there's your ketzitza. our Ketzitz is much bigger. I think we follow Taisvis. Taisvis is that the titura is a separate piece of leather that is put on, so it's actually much bigger. But anyway, I'm sure you could probably make Rashi's thicker as well. But anyway, so the titura is the base. So it says the Gemara, Amrav Chanan Amarav, titura de tefillin halacha shemesina. The halachas of the titura, the fact that you need a titura, the fact that it has to be square, all the halachas of the titura is halacha mishmesina. By the way, art scroll from this daf is actually very essential if you want to know just a lot about tefillin. So that Gemara just says, titura de tefillin halacha mishmesina. On the bottom, they talk about different sheets of the titura. What does it look like? It's more of tangents that are just good to know. Gemara goes weiter, Amar Abaya, ma'abarta de tefillin. There's the ma'abarta. The ma'abarta is at the very end, that little bit that sticks out where the ritzua goes through. That's also halacha mishmesina. Vam Rabbi and another halacha. Shin shel tefillin halacha mishmesina. The shin of the shel roish, the fact that there's shin on the side, embossed on the side, is also halacha mishmesina. If you look at Taisus brings from the Shimusha Rabbah that what we have is we have one tefillin, one shin on one side is 3-pronged, the other shin on the other side is 4-pronged. Pashtus, the reason is because tefillin is 3, a shin is 3, and the other one 4 is what it looks like when it's engraved. When it's engraved, you have the 3, but then the outside of it is 4. So that's what I'm saying. Meaning if you carve it out, you have to make a 4 one to make it really inside. Correct. It's like the mold. The mold, like if you were to try to make a shin that was sticking out, you would need a mold that would look like 4, because then it would push in and then 3 would come out. So I think that's one of the explanations, Wave. Yeah, so one is 3 and one's 4. There's all halach mishmesina pashas. Because that's what it looks like when on the. If you press down, that's pashas one reason. That's one reason. That's what it looks like. Correct. If you were to press down a shin into the space, correct. That pushes out. Well, if you look, by the way, if you look on the 4, inside the 4 there's 3. Okay, but it's not gonna. But inside the 4 there's 3. I'll show you after this. The kitzur. So all of this halacha mishmesina that you need a 3 and a 4 is halacha mishmesina. Yeah, they bring it in the bottom. The 4-leg shin reflects how the letter shin appeared on the tablets given to Moshe on Mount Har Sinai. That is the three spaces between the 4 legs can be perceived as a sunken shin, similar to the hollowed out shin on the tablets. Yeah. Okay. Right to the Gemara. B'tzara she'yagia charitz l'makom atvar. And the 4 boxes, each box is separate, so there's like an engravement. It's engraved as you see the grooves of each box. That groove has to go down all the way to the base. If, let's say, for whatever reason, the groove stops halfway, then it's not kosher. Says the Gemara. Rav Dimi disagrees. He says, no, kivan de minkar lo yitzarach. Once you could recognize the grooves anywhere in the box, it doesn't have to all the way go to the bottom. If you look at Rav Gabi Elbaz, so if you have his phone number in your phone, he sells safras also. He's very into like finding like hadassim, like his hadassim, or like Rashi hadassim. Like he finds so he sells tefillin that are called charitzim Rashis, which is that each box is completely separate till the base. So you could actually, he puts like a hair in between each single box. Apparently it's like a chomer of Rashi. It's interesting. Anyway, I guess it's you can't have any of these psulim if they're literally 4 boxes that are you could see airspace. It's interesting. Amar Abaya, Hi Kulfa the Tefillin Sarach Lemivdeke. Before the Sefer writes on the Tefillin, you have to check the parchment. Dilma Isbe Rusa, maybe it has a hole. Ubeina Ksivatama, and it'll affect the writing. So you have to check before. You have to look through to inspect the surface area to make sure there's no impurities. The Gemara says, Rav Dimer da Omar, he says, Loit Sarich, Kul Masabadikle. You don't have to check. The quill will check, meaning, if you catch on it, then you'll fix it. Meaning, you don't have to check. You write it. If it comes out perfectly good, if you catch your pen on it, so you'll fix the letter. Meaning, you have to check before. You'll figure it out as you go. I'm pretty sure you'll figure it out. The fact that the ritzuas of the tefillin have to be black, that's halacha meshmesina. Now we assume, obviously it's talking about the outer part. The inside doesn't really matter. The inside, like it was a chumrah recently that they found that has to be black. But pashas, the inside could be white. Other Rabbi speaks to some seifrim, they're not into the black and the inside because it peels off, whatever. But b'kitzur, the outside of the tefillin that has to be black as al chomesh mesinai. And if it's any other color, it's not kosher. Says the Gemara, wait a minute, you telling me any other kasha is a problem? Any other color is a problem? Meisvei, tefillin ein kosher ela b'minan. You're only able to wrap the tefillin with kosher material, meaning the tefillin has to come from a kosher animal, like leather. Can't be like chazer, it can't be, other, it has to come from a kosher animal. And the material that the boxes are made of, not just kosher animal, it has to be the material the boxes are made of. So you can't use different species. Meaning the straps can't be cotton. It has to be leather because the boxes are made of leather. This is the kasha though. Bein yerukais, bein shchurais, bein levanais. And the straps can be green, black, or white. Stop. So obviously that's a kasha. I thought you said it has to be black. It says green, black, or white. Now, before we address the question, we're going to finish up the brisa. The brisa says, adumos layasa, but you can't have red straps. Why? Because people are going to think you're very sick. If you have red straps, they're going to think you're bleeding a lot from your head or your arms, and they're going to start thinking that there's something wrong with you. There's an illness, so don't use red. So what white, green, and black are fine, but not red. Also, davar acher. They're also concerned that people really chayshed you than the chayshed of other things. That maybe you lived with your wife, and the dam, when she's a dam nida, and the dam nida got on your body, and then it went on the straps. Okay, that's the. Honestly, just avoid red straps. You don't bring it on yourself. But B'kitzur, you're allowed to use any material, green, black, white, just not red. Now, before we, again, address the question, the Gemara talks about this. The Gemara says red is no good. And Amar Rav Yehuda, Ma'aseh b'talmidei shel Rav Akiva, she'koishet tefillin b'loshayin shel tchelis. I'll prove it to you. So the Gemara said, I'll prove it to you that these colors are okay, because Rav Yehuda says that there was a Ma'aseh with a Talmud of Rav Akiva, that he had straps that were blue. No, I'm sorry. This is a kash on the first statement. The first statement was that the straps have to be leather. The problem was, a Maisa goes to the student Rav Akiva, that he had blue wool straps. It wasn't leather. And he did that, he wore them in front of Rav Akiva. Rav Akiva didn't give him musar. And if it was taka asar, Rav Akiva would have stopped him. And says the Gemara, is it possible that Rav Akiva saw his student have non-leather straps, he didn't give him musar? So the Gemara says, maybe he didn't see it. Rav Akiva had a lot of students, so maybe whatever. Just because there was someone in his base medrash doing that, the fact that Rav Akiva might have seen it and didn't give him musar is lav dafka. Maybe he didn't see it. Okay, the Gemara continues. Ma'isa behorkenes b'noisher Rav Elazar ben Horkenes. He would have stopped him, of course. He's wearing apostle straps, of course. Ma'isa behorkenes b'noisher Rav Elazar ben Horkenes. She'koishet tefillin b'shon shel argaman. Horkenes, the son of Rav Elazar ben Horkenes, wore tefillin straps of wool, purple wool. Same problem. It's a raya that you don't need leather. And he wore this in front of his father, Rav Elazar ben Horkenes. Rav Elazar ben Horkenes didn't stop him. So the Gemara says, that's a little bit harder to understand. Your father never saw his tefillin. Okay, I don't know. Yeah. Katani Miyas. Okay, but Bekitzer, you have over here a kasha that you said that the tefillin straps have to be black. The Brisa says it could be white, green, or black. It just can't be red. So what's going on? Katani Miyas, Ben Yerukais, Ben Shchayas, Ben Levanis. Like kasha, it's a very simple answer. The answer is the outside has to be black. When this Brisa says the inside, when this Brisa says white, black, or red, white, black, or green, it's the inside of the straps. The back of the straps. The outside of the straps, what's visible to others has to be black. That's al chomesh mesinai. This Brisa is not talking about the outside, it's talking about the inside. Because here's the kasha though. So we're talking about the inside. But you can't be red. But why? Who cares? If it's the inside, no one's going to see it anyway. The answer is sometimes they'll flip out. It says the Gemara, the answer is we're talking about the inside of the straps that are not normally visible to others, and that's why it could be white, black, green, blue, whatever. The only color it can't be is red. Why? Because sometimes it'll turn out and it'll expose, and people think that you're ill, you got something wrong with you, or other problems in the home. It says the Gemara, tefillin murubois. The fact that the tefillin have to be squared is halacha ma'aseh mesinai. That's also halacha ma'aseh mesinai. And Amra Papa bitfaron u'ba'alaksain. This is true by the square that it has to be sewed as a box, and the diagonal of it also has to be the right dimensions. There's the dimensions of how to make a perfect square. That also has to be, meaning it can't be a rectangle, it can't be other things. They actually explain, by the way, I never chopped why. Just for the record, I never chopped why. So they bring down the bottom of the article, but just kedai to. So it has to be square. Halacha Mishmasinai. So again, so you have the ketzitza, which is this box, that's square. You have the ma'abarta, which is the back, and then you have the titura. The titura and the ma'abarta sort of flow into each other, but technically the titura is this first box, and the ma'abarta is this. The reason why it indents in is to show that the titura is perfectly square. That's why it has that little indentation, that little nook. It's to show that the halacha Moshe Sinai requires that the ketzitza and the titura be square. It is. Because you ask yourself, why do you need that little angle? It does that to show that this ketzitza is perfectly square, and the rest is the ma'abarta. It's to show that the titura and the ma'abarta are separate, and therefore it's to show that it's perfectly square in every nekuda. That's why we do this. Okay. Anyway, says the Gemara weiter. Leim Masayela have a raya that it has to be square halacha Moshe Messina, because the Brisa says oisa tefilose agula. If you make your tefillin round, it's a sakana. First of all, it's a sakana. Vein ba mitzvah. You're not yoytz the mitzvah, and the sakana is it could pierce your head. So if you fall, it could go right in. So, but the point is, it's not a mitzvah if it's round. Oh, so you see, it has to be square. So the Gemara says lav dafka. It's not a raya. Why? You could say that it doesn't have to be square, and this is not talking about perfectly regular. Meaning, maybe regular round is fine. Doesn't have to be square. So why is it a problem? Over here it's made like a nut. Meaning it's not just a circle, it's like a diamond shaped. So that's why it's an issue. Meaning it has no base b'chalal. It could be if it's flat on the bottom, even if it's rounded on top, maybe that's fine. There's no halacha meshbesina. Over here we're talking about it's mama shaped like a diamond or like an almond. So because of that, it has no base. That's why it's a problem. It's not flat at all on the bottom. And by the way, that's why it's dangerous. Because if you have it like that, and then it could you bang your head and it could go right in. But it could be. It's not a raya. Okay. The Gemara is Amar Avuna Tefillin Kol Zman Shepnei Tavla Kayemes Ksheres. Okay. So this article has a picture, but basically it's like this. Again, just to focus on the 4 boxes. By the way, Rabbi Natam, this is why the hairs come out in the middle. It's interesting. I talked about this yesterday. So anyway, the 4 boxes. The outside is got to be complete, meaning if there's like a gash across here, that's a problem. But it looks pretty good. The outside looks good. But what's going on the inside? What if the walls of the compartments on the inside are punctured between each other? So the halacha is like this: Kol zman shebnei tava kayemes ksheres. According to this Gemara, it doesn't matter what's going on the inside. As long as the outside you see 4 perfect boxes, even if on the inside the compartment's punctured over here, but you don't see it, it's fine. That's the first view. That's Rav Huna. Comes Rav Chizd and he says, no. Nifseku shtayim kesherois. Nifseku shtayim kesherois. Shalish psulois. According to Rav Chizda, if 2 of the inner walls are split, it's a problem. It's okay. But 3, it's a problem. Yeah. Meaning 2 or less is fine. But if the majority are split, then it's a problem. That's Rav Chizda's take. This is all on the inside. And then you have Rava, and Rava says like this: Ha da'amr shtayim kasherois lo yomrun elazeh shaloi keneged zeh avol zeh keneged zeh psulois v'zeh keneged zeh nami lo yomrun l'bachada abatik da leslampa. Comes Rava and he says like this. Our scroll helps with the pictures. They have pictures in the bottom. You have the 4 compartments. Okay, it's not that complicated. You have the 4 compartments on the inside. The first opinion is that it's fine. Rav Chizda says no. If there's 2 splits between 2 boxes, then it's okay. But 3 is a problem. Comes Rava and he says like this: Rav Chizda had amr shtayim ksheres. When Rav Chizda said 2 are fine, he was talking about where they're not next to each other. Meaning, if I have a split between 1 and 2 and between 4 and 3, it's fine because there's no complete tear in full directions of one box. Meaning, if there's a split between 1 and 2, that means 1 is complete and it has 1 tear on one side, and 2 is complete, only has a tear on one side, but it's not torn on both directions. Do you understand? Meaning, for it to be a problem, you need a box that is punctured in both ways. So when he said 2 is fine, that's where the 2 tears are not near each other. But if I were to have a tear between 2 and 3, and 3 and 4, then 3 is completely torn, because it's torn on one side between 2 and 3 and 4 is torn on the other side. That's when it's a problem. And the Gemara continues. And also Rava said, it's only a problem, v'zeh keneged zeh nami, and it's only an issue when it's a new tefillin. But old tefillin, less than, but old tefillin are fine. I guess older tefillin, that even if there's a crack, it still holds the structural integrity. Newer ones, if there's already a crack, it's a problem. Says the Gemara, Amr le Abai Rav Yosef, Hechi dam echad, Hechi dam aktikta. How do I know if my tefillin are old or new? Meaning old or new is not just old or new, it's whether the leather is old or leather is new. So says the Gemara, Amr le, Kol heicha ki mat lebe beshalcha. Anytime you stretch the hide, v'hader chalm, and it shrinks back to the original side, atikta. That's old leather, that's better leather, good leather, it's strong, older leather. If you use it with older leather, if you made it tefillin with older, stronger leather, that means that it's strong, and even if there's a crack, it's not going to crumble and fall apart. New ones, the cracks are indicative that it's a major issue. How do I know it's old? If I pull the leather and it goes back to its proper size, that's old. V'ida chada, an other hide, if it just stretches, doesn't go back, that's considered new. Go to the next page. V'inami, kol heicha dichimatale b'masna, aisi agbasre, chadata, idach atikta. Another one is if me and you pull, we have tug of war with the tefillin. So if it just, if it pulls, then it's considered new. If it snaps, that's considered old. I don't know. I would have thought the otherwise, but all right. Abaya have Yosef Kameder of Yosef. If Siklei Ritzua the Tefili. Abaya was sitting in front of Yosef, and his tefillin strap tore. Now, the Rishonim explain, we're talking about a part of the tefillin strap that it tore where you need it. The tefillin shel yad is very, very long. You don't need such long tefillin straps. If at the very end it tears, it's fine. If it tears by the yud, we have a problem. So Abaya, it must have torn by the yud or by the dalit of the shalrosh. It tore in an area or with the area that goes around the head. So it tore at a problem area. So Abaya says, tefillin are puzzle. So Abaya asked Rav Yosef, Ma'ul miktere, can I just tie it? I'll just tie it. I can make a knot. So Amar lei ukshartem ksiv shetek shirik tama. No, it says kshartem, which means the tefillin have to be tied properly. So it says Rashi, what it means is that the only knot is the knots that are supposed to be there. Anytime you add knots, it's going to be an issue. It's not or Rashi brings a different mahalach. Kshir tama means it's supposed to be proper and nice looking. Straps that are held together by knots is not good, and therefore it's not netzah. Amalei Rav Acha Brei Rav Yosef Rav Ashi Ma'ul mitzvah. What about sewing it? And by the way, to sew it, you can't sew it like this. You'd have to you'd have to fold it like this and then sew it like that so that it's black the entire time. So basically, you're folding it and then sewing it like this to keep. So is that okay? No, but then if you sew it like this, I guess it'll flap around. In order to do it properly, you have to fold it and then you sew it, so it'll sort of go up for a second. So Amar lei puchazi ma'ayim devar. He said, "Can I do this?" He said, "Look at people. Do people have it like that?" No. So then no. Okay. Amrav Papa gardume ritzuos ksheris. Gardume ritzuos is kosher. What does that mean? Gardume means the leftovers. What it basically means is right after the dalid, if it tears, it's kosher. So according to Rav Papa, you don't need any shear. The second there's a dalid, if it tears off, it's fine. So V'la Milsi, but the Gemara says it's not true. Why? Mida'amir b'nei Rav Chia, Gardumi tchelis, ve'gardumi ezav ksherim hasam detashmishe mitzaninu aval hacha detashmishe kedushin loy. He says no, there is a shear. Why? Because Rav Chia's son said that gardume tchelis, that when it comes to tchelis, regarding the tzitzis, the extra tzitzis, if it rips off, it's fine. And gardume ezav, and regarding that gardume ezav, this is talking about the mitzayra. If there's extra straps, it rips off, it's fine. The implication is dafka, those are mitzvahs that you don't need any shear, but by tefillin, tashmisha kedusha, you need a shear. Meaning, in other words, what the Gemara is basically saying is, you're assuming that if right by the dalit it rips off, it's fine. Not true. You need a shear of the ritzua left. How much? How much do you need? Now, according to most Rishonim, this is talking about the shel rosh. How much ritzua do I need of the shel rosh after the dalit or after the box, whatever you have? Amar Rami Bar Chama, Amar Reish Lakish, at etzba tzrada. The tefillin straps must extend until the tzrada finger. What does that mean? Rav Kana machve kofuf, Rav Ashi machve poshet. It's basically the difference between the thumb and the pointer, just either like this or extended, like that, a little bit. The point is, that's the amount of straps that must remain after the box of the dalit of the shel rosh. The Rava Koteluhu, Rava would. Okay, so now by the way, so what do we do with the shell roish? We put the shell, we'll put the dalit over here, or the box over here, and then we take the two straps and put it in front of us. The Gemara says that's what we do, but the Amoraim had different approaches. Rava Koteluhu uposhit v'shadile. Rava would bind his tefillin to his head, and then he would leave them behind. He would dafka have it hanging behind his back. Okay? Rav Acha bar Yaakov Koteluhu matosele. Rav Acha bar Yaakov would braid them together and have them hang in front of him. It would be like a long, like a ponytail, like a braid. And Mar Breda Ravana of a Kedidan, and Mar Breda Ravana does like our custom, which is in the front. The Gemara says, Amar Rav Yehuda Breda Rav Shmuel Bar Shilas Mishmei Rav Kesher Shel Tefillin. The kesher of the tefillin, which is in the back of the shel roish, that the back, which is by the bone, that tefillin knot, which again, there's two different approaches amongst the Rishonim. It's either a dalid or a box. Chassidim use a dalid. I think Ashkenazim do a box. So it's different. I think the box is just a double dalid. I think that's the perception. Dalid is easier to adjust. I will say that as someone who does a tefillin, dalid is way easier. It's al chomesh mesina. Okay. Amr of Nachman v'noyhein labar. V'noyhein labar means that noyhen means the ornaments, the picture, the prettiness. That has to be exposed. What does that mean? That means that's referring to the shin dalid yud. Yeah, let's go with the Rashi. They bring down from Rashi and Evin. That means that the shin of the box has to be exposed. Meaning, what if I want to put a box on top of my shel roish? So it's covering up the shins. No, the shin must be exposed to the outside. Says the Gemara, Rav Ashi, by the way, same thing with the shel yad, the yud, or the dalid. You have the shin, dalid, and then you have the yud by the shel yad. All of that has to be exposed. What do I mean exposed? You cover with your shirt. Yes, but it's at least exposed when you put it on. Meaning, if you want to build this giant compartment to just cover your shel yad, where it covers up the yud also, no good. Everything has to be visible when you place it on. You covering, that's a different story. But when you put it on, it has to be, so the shin is on the outside wall. It's not like in the inside wall of the tefillin. The dalit is also exposed. The yud is exposed. The Gemara says, Rav Ashi, Rav Yosef Kamei de Mar Zutra is hapchele ritzu the tefillin. His tefillin inverted, which means like on the shel rosh, it flipped out. So the Gemara says, Amar le savar lamar v'noy labar. He says, no, you gotta switch it because apparently his also dalit was inverted. He said, no, it's gotta be proper. Fix it. Amar le lava daite. He said, I didn't see it, meaning didn't notice. My bad, meaning I wasn't doing it on purpose. I didn't notice that my straps were inverted. The Gemara says, which is a couple famous Gemaras, the pasuk says, the whole nations of the world will see that the name of Hashem is on you and they'll fear you. Tanya, seeing the name of Hashem on you, that's a tefillin shabarosh. Why tefillin shabarosh? Because it's the only one that the letter of the name of Hashem is actually in the box itself. Even the dalid, that's in the straps. The yud is in the straps, but the shin is in the box itself, and that's a sign that that's why. By the way, it's also why you don't cover the shel roish box. It's supposed to be that the goyim can see you and fear you. The shel yad is covered up. The shel roish is exposed. By the way, this is where the Rabbi used to point when he started in 1967, right before the war. He started his tefillin campaign. Was he said that the soldiers should be wearing tefillin every day because if you want the world to fear you and to not be afraid, and the soldiers need that fear, they have to be wearing tefillin. Similarly, the pasuk says that I'll remove my hand and you'll see my back. Regarding to Hashem said to Moshe that Moshe said, "I want to see you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu." Hashem said, "You can't see my face, but my back you could see." What is that referring to? Hashem showed Moshe the dalit or the box on the back of Kaviyachal Hashem's head. Amr Rav Yehuda, Kesher Shel Tefillin. Where do we wear? We'll end with this. Where do you wear the box? It has to be on. It has to be at on the actual head itself, and not on the neck. Meaning, if you feel the back of your head, you're going to feel a bone. The dalid or box should be on the bone, not below the bone, because when it goes below the bone, it's already on the neck. It's no longer on the head. It has to be on the head itself. Now, not high up, but on the bone itself. Because Klal Yisrael are compared to the knots of the tefillin, and we want it to be high up. We don't want to be on the neck. We want to be on the roish. We want to be the roish, v'loy lezanav, and not on the bottom. And by the way, it can't be too low because it has to be. If you take my head is weirdly shaped, but if you take, I don't think it is. If you take where the dalit is, on the other side, it's It's right. Is it close to the eyes? It's pretty much central of the face. The Gemara says it has to be the way to symbolize that Klal Yisrael will be in the front. That even the box, the Dalid, is by the face, the front of Klal Yisrael. And if it's too low, then it'll be sort of the bottom of the face. So you want it to be high up so that it's the face of Klal Yisrael will be in the front and not in the back. That was something.